Hi, this is Julian Winters, author of Running with Lions and How to Be Remy Cameron. You can check out both of my books via my publisher, Interlude Press, and you're listening to So Booking Cool with Jewel D.
Welcome to So Booking Cool. It's Jewel B.
In part one,
Today's guest is a best-selling and award-winning novelist. His debut, Running with Lions, won 2 Benjamin Franklin Awards for Best Teen Fiction and Best Small Format Cover Design by the Independent Book Publishers Association. And his second novel, How to Be Remy Cameron, was highly anticipated and is buzzing with positive reception. He is Julian Winters. Hi, Julian. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm wonderful, and I know this is probably my third time saying it, but congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations never gets old, trust me.
Oh, okay. I love that response. So How to Be Remy Cameron is officially in the world now. What were some of the emotions that you felt as it got closer to release day?
I don't know. Excitement is obviously one of them. It's really exciting anytime you're like, this is something I've written and it gets to be shared with the world and other people get to read it. So that's always a good one for me. But with this book, it was also a lot of, I don't want to say it was doubt, but it was a lot of nerves. And I'm still buzzing with the nerves of people's reception of the book because it's just not like, it's a very heartfelt book for me. It's very, from a bit of my own past experiences, but also just stories that I want to tell. But it's also nerve-wracking because it's like, it's rare that you get this opportunity to do something like this, and you just hope that people receive the messages that you're trying to, relay. So, nerves and excitement, that's what I'm rolling with right now.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the messages that you're trying to relay, what is the heart of How to Be Remy Cameron, and why is this story important?
The heart of it, the heart and soul of How to Be Remy Cameron is definitely the fact that we grow up, we go through life with these labels, and they're often labels that we don't attach to ourselves. It's what everyone else gives us or what society gives us. And sometimes they're great labels. Sometimes they're labels that, help to define you and help to make you different from other people. But sometimes they're labels that are stereotypes, and they're labels that get layered and layered and layered upon you until you actually don't really know who you are, because you never had the opportunity to define yourself, because that's all you know is what people give you. So it's about breaking out of those labels and telling the world, no, I get to define myself when I'm ready to, and that can happen when you're 5 years old, it can happen when you're 17 years old, it could happen when you're 56 years old. It doesn't matter, because no one else should be able to define the person that you are. So that's like the heart and soul of Remy's journey.
Have you ever personally, Julian, experienced trying to find yourself despite the labels that we're talking about, like that people sometimes get imposed upon?
Yeah, all the time. It just feels like every day. I definitely do experience that still, but I experienced it a lot as a teen, where anything that I said, anything that I didn't match up with what label or stereotype or box someone was trying to put me in. So growing up, if I happen to like indie pop music or I liked alternative rock, it was a lot of, well, do you really? Like, that doesn't seem like a black thing to do. Or if I wasn't a very masculine guy, I'm terrible at sports, which I don't think is the definition of masculine or feminine or anything else. But automatically, because I couldn't play sports or because I didn't, walk and talk a certain way, I was labeled, oh, he's too feminine, he's too gay, he's too this. And I struggled a lot with, who am I? Am I just these things? Is that all I'm going to be known as? Am I going to be known as just everybody's favorite best friend? Or am I going to be known as this person's ex-boyfriend? Or am I going to be known as whatever the case is? So I struggled a lot with that during my teen years. It wasn't until late into my 20s, early 30s, where I finally broke out and said, no, this is me, and this is me, and tomorrow this will be me also.
Wow, Julian. Was that a gradual thing? You coming into yourself and just like standing in your truth and just being really comfortable in your own skin? Or was it really just one day and it was like, you know what, I've had it. Like, I'm going to embrace who I am?
I wish it happened in one day. I wish it was like a 24-hour thing. No, I think it was a gradual thing. It's still a gradual thing, I think, with any aspect of your life where when you're breaking out of a mold, when you're breaking out of, this structure that someone's put you in, it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take time, and each facet of you is going to be a whole other page, me being confident in the way I talk, me being confident in my body, me being confident in the things that I like. Those are all separate stages that I had to go through. But it's a building thing. It's this kind of like, building a Lego castle or something. You start with this great foundation, but eventually you just keep on building and building, and it changes and it morphs and it gets taller, it gets bigger, it gets stronger, and that's what happened with me. It wasn't just like, oh yes, today I woke up and this is Julian.
Would you say that it's accurate to say that Remy and you as well at any point had to fake it until you made it? That expression.
Oh, that's hilarious. That was my saying in high school. That was my saying in my 20s.
Gotcha.
I said it all the time. I tell people all the time, listen, fake it until you make it, okay? And yeah, I did. I most certainly did. I think, and Remy definitely has to, in the book also, he definitely has to fake being okay with things, and he has to fake with, being confident in, he's a club president of the Gay Straight Alliance Club at his high school, and he has to fake it until he makes it when he doesn't agree with things that people say about it, or the things that people want to do in there, and he has to fake it till he make it dealing with college and the structure that people put on him, and the things that people try to assign to him, saying this is where you should go and this is who you should be. It's this constant you want to be respectful to adults. You want to be respectful to peers and whatnot. But you're kind of faking it because that's not who you are, and that's not what you want to do. And for me, that was definitely the case. I faked a lot in high school, just to survive. Cause it's already tough enough in high school dealing with, schoolwork, tests, what's my next step, what am I doing over here. You have to kind of fake it until you figure out what it is that you're trying to do.
How did you design Remy Cameron?
I wish that was an easy answer. Remy, I guess I'm realizing Remy kind of always lived inside of me, that story, but I was terrified that I wasn't able to tell that story, that the world wouldn't want to hear it. And so designing him, creating him kind of just came from bits and pieces of myself, but not just myself, just interactions I've had with teens, with my peers, with my friends, my friend groups. It's just these different things that I've noticed that we have this common singularity where it's like, oh, wow, you're experiencing that too. We never talk about it. We always keep it to ourselves, but when you finally do, it's like, oh, this is like a common thing. So designing him, I just knew I had to take these different parts of my life and these different things that I've seen and say, you know what? Let's talk about it, because if we don't talk about it, it's always going to be this thing that we hold inside of ourselves. So that's kind of where he came from, just, I guess, mini Julian in a way.
And I like the name.
Yeah, the name right there, I don't even remember how it came to me. I just knew it had to be something unique. It couldn't be something that I've seen a million times before, but it also had to mean something. And so just playing around on Google, as one does as a writer. You can fool around on Google to find a name. And I just thought, Remy, okay, that's a good name. And I looked up Rembrandt, and it just kind of rolled from there.
How did you connect with your agent?
We met at Y'all West when I first went in 2018. And she was just at the festival. It's a great festival. It's a great chance to meet authors, and she's from, the California area, so that was great. And she came to my signing. It was my first ever signing for Running with Lions, and came up and we just started chatting, but it was a really busy day, so I didn't really get a chance to talk to her. But I wanted to, because I've seen her on the internet. That's how we all meet, social media, connect that way. And so she gave me her information, and finally, when things slowed down after the recent Running with Lions, I emailed her and said I'm really interested in talking to you. You're a great person. She's just so great. She's so smart. She sees things in ways that just are unimaginable. And I just love the clients that she already had on her roster. And so we just got to talking, and then a whole other year went by because I had to write How to Be Remy Cameron. And I emailed her again, said, I want to finish this talk. And we did finish the talk. And I sat myself down and said, you know what, you're good. This next project you're going to write and you're going to submit to her. And fingers crossed it goes somewhere. I agonized over this for the longest time, but I finally did it. And it was the best thing ever because she immediately jumped on it. And
let's give a shout out to your agent. What's the agent?
Yes, my agent is Tao Lee. Fantastic. Look her up on Twitter. It's at Tao Lee 8. She's on Instagram. Fantastic, wonderful person. Must get to know her.
That is so lovely that you feel that way about your agent.
Yeah.
That every author should be able to feel that way about their agent, I feel.
Yeah. That's the hope. Yes.
And also what I really liked about what you said, Julian, is you showed how assertive and proactive you were, like towards getting her on board and just like getting to work with her. Do you think that those are important traits that authors need to have, or any creatives need to have? Being assertive?
Yeah, I definitely think you have to be assertive, but not in an overly assertive way. You have to know what you want. You have to sit down and think about it, and that's very important. That's one of the things that she told me in like our initial conversation. She was like, think about what do you want for your future, and let's see if our ideas line up. So yeah, that's super important that as an author, what your future goals are. Why are you doing this? Who are you writing for? Are you writing for, a certain audience? Are you writing for you? Are you writing for a paycheck? What is it that you're trying to get out of this? Because if you're going after one particular agent or you're going after one particular publisher, they may not have that same idealism as you. They may not have the same thought process, and that's okay. That's fine. To each their own. But if you don't know what you want, then you're going to run the risk of just going for whatever's offered to you. And that's a hard, place to climb out of.
Yes. How would you describe your writing style, by the way? And how would you say that you develop your craft?
My writing style is clumsy. I say that much. I'm very, I'm very sarcastic. I'm very lighthearted. Just because I think it's me turning all the hardships of life outward into, positive things and happy endings. I need those things in order to stay motivated myself. So that's usually how I tend to write. And that's just my thought process with any story that I create. And then, I don't know, that's just like, my craft got developed from writing fan fiction. Like, bless fan fiction. I tell you that right now. And anyone who tells you as a fanfic writer that what you're doing is not strong enough, it's not creative enough, it doesn't do anything great for the world, is lying to you. Because fan fiction changed my life. And it just helped me to, you already have these built-in characters, sometimes a built-in world and whatnot, and from there you get to kind of shape and manipulate, and it really helps when it comes to things like character development. It helps when it comes to things like dialogue. It helps when it comes to things like really fleshing out a story and making it your own. Like, I don't understand how anyone couldn't appreciate the fan fiction world, because the stories that we tell, whether we believe they're original or not, are just recreated stories that have been passed up for generations and generations and generations. It's just our own take on it. It's like a big old game of telephone.
Oh my God, Julian, I'm so hyped that you're saying this, because I was going to ask you if you have written fan fiction before, because I know about like Saved by the Bell. I love to hear you say that. For the longest time, I felt that people kind of look down on it a little bit, but clearly it's very popular though. Like I think some people, they just might not be forthcoming with it, right? It's kind of like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, which is like, I mean, I get the whole, like, the whole thing behind guilty pleasures to kind of feel a little bit guilty about it. But like, come on, if it's something you enjoy, talk about it.
Yeah, and like you said, like it can really help you as a writer. It can help somebody as a writer.
Yeah.
So did you write Saved by the Bell fanfiction?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I wish I would have, because growing up, I wasn't that good I wasn't really interested in writing, probably because I could never find any books that really interest me. So I was like, in the apartment complex that we lived in, I was like the little ringleader of like, let's play pretend. So while I didn't write Saved by the Bell fan fiction, we played Saved by the Bell, let's pretend, okay? And that's where all that came from. I still love that show. Still wish I would have started a band, but I have no musical talent, so.
What about, like, I feel like you could write a song.
I did a lot of songwriting in my teenage years. I don't know if that was my way of, expressing myself, or if it was just my way of not paying attention in class. But I did a lot of songwriting, yes I did.
And as you mentioned, you do have a love of indie pop and as well as 90s music, Julian. Yeah. So what kind of playlist would perfectly depict how to be Remy Cameron?
This is funny because I was because the actual playlist I wrote the book to was like 160 songs long. So, wow. I was trying to narrow that down so I could like post a playlist or something. But the perfect playlist would have, obviously this band called Pop, etc., which, is Remy's favorite band in the book. And that's a real band, everyone. It's not a fake band, okay? You can go look them up at popetcetera.com or at Pop, etc. on, Twitter. So they would have to be on there. Let's see, Pete Townsend, the song My Love Will Open the Door, from the 80s. I have this amazing, mix of it, on my playlist that I wrote. Like every scene that had to do anything with romance or flirting, I always had that song on. Who else would be on there? A duo called Milk and Bone would probably be on there. I had the Cranberries playing while I wrote How to Be Remy Cameron. Let's see, I had Wiz Khalifa on there. I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to music. So if ever I got, asked to do like a soundtrack for a movie, it would be from like, I would probably pull from every genre and almost every decade, because music is just so freaking inspiring and so great to write to and create to.
When you say that it's inspiring and great to write to, like what is really driving you when you're listening to these songs as you write? Is it just your love for it? Is it the beat? Is it the lyrics? Like what is it?
It's a combination, because there are songs on my playlist to anything I write to which have nothing to do with the theme or scene I'm writing to whatsoever. So sometimes it is just the beat that I need playing so I can just get in this mood or this zone. Sometimes I just need that happy beat to write a happy scene. And it could really be just like the worst song ever, but I need it. Sometimes it is definitely the lyrics. That's why I pick Pop, etc., because a lot of those lyrics I think are very relatable. I do a lot of writing to the Bleachers and stuff like that. Like those lyrics to me are just very relatable, and they often weave their way into how I'm feeling about a particular scene. And it's just music in general. I need that escape to unlock things in my brain. I can rarely write sitting somewhere with just the noise of the background, the noise of people moving around and stuff like that. I just can't do it. I have to have something to kind of train my brain to dig deep.
Okay, so is music a part of how you can overcome writer's block?
Yes. It's fascinating enough. It is. Which when I was younger writing it wasn't the case. If I had writer's block, it was just like, nope, I'm probably not writing for a week. But now I kind of create the playlist in order to have certain songs in there where it's like on every single playlist I have certain songs where I just know if I put this song on, I'm gonna feel something. And it's like I think I write a lot, with my brain, but I also write a lot with my emotions. And so having that music kind of unlocks emotions that I need to really just, okay, listen, you can do this. This is you. This is your idea. Go back to the beginning of what made you fall in love with it. And the music helps. It genuinely does. I often play, like, something by the 1975 or Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here, stuff like that, where I just like, okay, here's the emotion. Now remember why.
Gotcha. Wow. That's great advice. What is a piece of advice that has been really memorable to you that you received from somebody in the publishing world?
My editor is a genius. Annie Harper with Interlude Press she's a genius. And I think the best piece of advice, because I struggled for a long time, with Remy, I struggled just because the book was so personal. But for another project I did recently, I was really struggling with it. We were having a phone conversation, and she was just like, remember when you wrote this book? My third book that's coming out with called The Sum of Everything. I wrote, and it was the easiest book I've ever written. Like, it just all fled out of me, and I was done so quickly with it. And she was like, remember the feeling when you wrote that book? And she was like, the reason why it was so easy is because you weren't worried about what everyone else would think. You just were writing it for the fun of it. And that, I think, like, just turned the key, and all of a sudden just flooded out of me, like, wow. Because, yeah, I think often with writing, especially when, you're writing a book, or you're writing something that other people are going to see, that thought in your head is, what are they going to think? Instead of, why do I love this? And so, her telling me to stop thinking about what everyone else is going to think really made a difference for me, because then I started writing and thinking, this is really just for me. Like, no one has to see this. This book, this book is not under contract. It doesn't have to go anywhere. Just write for you. And it was, I don't know, I think that's probably the best advice, especially when you're struggling with something, with writing something, because you're always often so worried about what everyone else's critique is versus, why do I love doing this?
Also, how have you grown, Remy, from your first novel?
That was a big growth. I feel personally for me, and professionally for me, it was a big growth from Running with Lions to How to Be Remy Cameron. Running with Lions was a book I really wanted to write, but I also wanted to have fun with it. I wanted to just write this cute, story, and I wanted to have, a few things that people could take away from it, but I just really wanted people to, like, feel good after they finished it. And so I did that. And with Running with Lions, it was so, all about, okay, this is the book that I have to get published with. And with How to Be Remy Cameron, it was more like, this has to be the book where people want me to stay. So a lot of growth came from that. A lot of, accepting that I'm not going to be perfect ever as a writer. And that's okay. A lot of growth in terms of character development, in terms of being a lot more vulnerable with my writing. A lot of growth came from being able to see other perspectives of writing. It was, like, very important for me to be able to, have faith in myself. And I Running with Lions, I wrote in third person, which I've always done. With all fan fiction, all writing, I've always wrote in third person. And Remy Cameron was the first one I wrote in first person. And it was just like, I cannot do this. This is not normal. I have a routine. It was great to break out of the routine and see I could do something different, and I loved it. I absolutely loved being that deep inside of a character's, brain and their heart, and being able to just put that on page.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, like, being deep into the character's brain and heart, what are Remy's favorite shows or movies?
Let's see. It's funny because I really do need to work on that. I don't ever write about what, my character's favorite TV shows are. Probably because I don't get to watch that much TV anymore. Mm-hmm. But Remy's favorite TV shows or movies, I would say he would love Simon. He would love that movie very much. Awesome. He would probably, I don't think he would be a fan of anything particular that's like popular. He would probably go for something obscure, just like his music taste. So, I don't know. I gotta think, like, what would he love from Netflix? He would probably love any kind of documentary on a musician or band. He would love that. And he would definitely, movie-wise, besides Love, Simon, I think he would like, I think he would definitely be into, like, the comic book movies. I think, like the Marvel movies, the DC movies, that would probably be him, because it'd just be such an escape from the norm, and just something so different that he could just laugh about. It's like, what is this ridiculous going on here? I think he would enjoy, something like that. And yeah, I think those would be things that he enjoy.
And if How to Be Remy Cameron was adapted for the screens, would you rather it be told as a film or as a series, and why? Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of my conversation with Julian Winters, and make sure that you stay tuned to keep an eye out for part 2, only on So Booking Cool.